It's outrageous. Graduation ceremony was actually taken by my stepmother as my dad's lover. My graduation was on the same day as my dad's wedding. In order for everyone to witness it together, he set the wedding venue at the school playground. On that day, I posted a photo of me and my father online, wearing the latest Chanel. I ended up being treated by my stepmother as a mistress who seduced her man. She stormed my graduation with the wedding security guards. You know why I set the venue here? It's to rip your face off in public. Learning to start seducing rich men at a young age, I think you're tired of living. I won't be able to swallow my breath until you're ruined today. The ceremony site's VGA works were smashed into ruins by her. At this point, my stepmother tried to tear my bachelor's degree uniform in public and picked up acid and poured it on me. The camera of the cell phone live broadcast disliked my bloody wounds. Just before I lost consciousness, my dad came to the scene with the police. After going to a foreign university on exchange for 2 years, I purposely rushed back to my country on the day of the graduation ceremony just to attend my father's wedding. My mom died 10 years ago, and I've persuaded Dad countless times to move on from his grief. Now he has finally found a satisfactory other half. I am sincerely happy for him. His wedding as a daughter, I naturally cannot be absent. After getting off the plane, I went straight to the dormitory to change into my bachelor's degree uniform. Ready to take advantage of the ceremony before the start of the first rest for a while, but just opened the phone to see concerned stepmother's social account in the live broadcast. I thought she was sharing her wedding with her fans, but when I clicked in, I realized it wasn't the case at all. The bridal makeup had been applied to her face, but she was filled with tears. Thank you all for your support. I also didn't realize that college girls are so amazing nowadays. Even the venue for my wedding had to be decided by seeing her mood. I watched as the pop-ups gradually went off the rails, turning from celebrating a newlywed to exposing a mistress. Wondering if there was some kind of misunderstanding in there. I know my dad's character well. In 10 years, apart from his coworkers, he didn't even have a member of the opposite sex by his side. But just after I sent out my advice, I was instantly flooded in the comment section that insulted the mistress. Stepmom Selena sobbed uncontrollably. Today is my wedding, but she sent me an intimate photo of the two of them, saying that she is the only love in my husband's heart, where the wedding will be held. It's all a matter of her word. She said that today's wedding is something she doesn't want to have. So my husband gave me charity. I was angry, but I couldn't talk to her more than a couple of sentences. Selena twitched her shoulders in aggravation and slowed down to tell. As a result, she is now going to cancel my wedding and make me the joke of the city. The viewers in the live broadcast room were so angry after hearing this that they forgot to post their pop-ups. After a long time, they reacted and the comment section was instantly invaded by bad comments. Female college students nowadays are no good. I see dancing female college students online every day, especially those wearing sexy clothes and flirty dance moves. It's almost as if their prices are written in the video. Go Anchor, support you. You're no worse than those seducers. How dare this kind of slut let her graduate? I don't know how many families will be ruined in the future. It must be nipped in the bud now. My brother is from this university and said that their school can be messy. Especially those with rich families don't know how rotten their private lives are. Selena, don't be afraid. We are all your strong backing. Go and teach her a lesson today. I hurriedly exited the screen to send her a private message, but it was stone cold unanswered. I had no contact with her at all in the 2 years I had been out of the country before. Everything about her was from occasional phone calls with my dad and hearing him talk. But that woman in my dad's mouth was so gentle, I couldn't connect her with the woman in my dad's mouth. Seeing that the number of people in the live room was getting bigger and bigger, I hurriedly dialed my dad, smiley face. Dad, is there some kind of misunderstanding between you and Selena? You can't possibly be cheating on her, right? You quickly go to her and explain. Karina, what are you talking about? Am I that kind of person, your dad? It doesn't matter if you are or not anymore. The point is that people think you are or not. She's live streaming on her account to beat up her mistress, and you don't know? What the hell are you doing out there? Has the company recently recruited college students for internships? You have only had a girlfriend for 10 years. You seriously you can really my own father. I still want to teach him how to explain to the girls, but the dormitory door was suddenly knocked frantically. I can only press the phone first. As a result, the door just opened a crack. A huge force directly lifted me over to the ground. A group of men in security uniforms directly rushed into the women's dormitory to erect my entire body, and my feet instantly detached from the ground. My glasses were dropped to the side, and I instantly lost my sense of security. Wide-eyed, I looked straight at the woman wearing a wedding dress in front of me. The camera shot directly at my face as Selena snapped, "Everyone, look carefully. This is the female college student who seduced my husband. She doesn't look like a good person. Hair is also dyed colorful. This college really hasn't taught you anything. I don't know what kind of parents could teach such a bitch. Today, I'll teach you how to be a good person on behalf of your parents." I looked at her face. How could I not expect our first meeting to be such a scene? I just wanted to open my mouth to explain, but only a sound came out of my mouth. She slapped me in the face. I was hit in the eye and my head was tilted to the side. Before my brain could react, I was forced to take another slap in the opposite direction. The sharp, dull pain in my face made me lose my ability to think instantly. The family and friends who followed her around pointed at me and cursed angrily. What is not good to learn at a young age? Learning to be a bitch and seducing men, and also seducing a married man. Not to give you a lesson, do you really think that we are left to be bullied? You're still wearing a bachelor's degree. Do you deserve it? It's not even for someone like you to wear. Take it off. The noisy scolding caused a few students from the next dormitory to come out and gather around. A group of people instantly surrounded the entrance of my dormitory. I slowed down for half a day, my anger pressed in my chest, holding my breath, gritting my teeth, and looking at Selena. "Ma'am, I think you're mistaken. I'm not the slut you're talking about, and college students aren't what you make them out to be, so I hope you can show some respect." Thinking about the fact that she was the one my dad picked for 10 years to bring home. Originally wanted to give her a little face, he tolerated it, but I did not expect her face full of sneers after hearing. Pointing behind me to return to bring the suitcase, coldly said, "You are not my husband's mistress, who is that? If I'm not wrong, it is loaded with all the luxury goods that my husband bought for you, right? You really didn't spend much of my husband's money during the 4 years of college. You dare to say you didn't post the photos on the internet?" She took out her cell phone and flipped to the picture of me in the morning. The picture is me carrying a new Chanel on my father's arm. The picture with the text, "No matter what happens in the future, we are each other's most important person." At this moment, I realized that the source of her misunderstanding was myself. The anger in my chest was instantly replaced by speechlessness. I hurriedly spoke. "You're mistaken. I'm not the slut you're talking about. Didn't my dad tell you he has a daughter in college?" Selena swept me up and down after hearing this. She sneered with a cold snort. "You're not worthy? My husband's daughter has long been studying abroad. What are you? You're nothing but a mistress who seduced someone else's husband. How do you deserve to be called my husband's daughter?" She stretched out her hand after doing delicate manicure and poked hard on my bachelor's uniform. Growling angrily, "Do you know he's old enough to be your father? You can still do such shameless things." I didn't realize that after studying abroad for 2 years, the surprise that showed up at their wedding became a misunderstanding at this moment. Patience wearing thin, I spoke sharply. "Ask my father if you don't believe me. There are pictures of me all over the house. Haven't you seen them?" After saying that, her eyes were obviously flustered for a moment. "What photos? Don't bullshit me. There's not a single photo in the apartment I live in. My husband said his daughter doesn't like pictures." Hearing this, it dawned on me. My dad had never taken her back to our old house. I was sweating with anxiety, but couldn't find a reason to justify myself. When my mom died, my dad directly changed my last name to take my mom's name, and now my name doesn't match. My anxious look was in her eyes, and Selena smiled all smug. "Nothing to say, huh? You bitch. You won't know what a lowlife you are until I teach you a lesson today." As the words fell, she gave an order. All of the security guards behind her rushed in and smashed everything in my dormitory that was visible to the naked eye. Selena, on the other hand, turned her head to look at the live stream and aimed her camera at the messy floor. Seeing the comment section all saying don't smash things that are all school, she spoke up as an afterthought. Thanks for the heads up, everyone. I almost forgot about this bitch's suitcase. Then she pulled open the suitcase despite my wailing, and the contents were scattered all over the place. The new models of major brands I had purchased from abroad were cut into fabric with her sheer power. Hermes straps were ripped off by her force, and the treasured out-of-print perfume was smashed and flowed all over the place. The pungent aroma made her even more angry. The students outside the door had already taken out their cell phones at this time, exclaiming while recording. The video was quickly posted to the school forum and frantically reposted. The women's dormitory became a gathering place for gossip for a while. Seeing my entire luggage become a ruin under her feet, I was so indignant that I clenched my teeth and my veins rippled on my neck. She had ruined everything for me, and yet she wasn't satisfied. Turning her head, she had the security guards pull my entire body out. My wretched figure was recorded on her camera, even giving close-ups of my facial expressions. I couldn't care less about maintaining my privacy anymore, and my terrified howls echoed through the corridor. Smiley face. What are you doing? Where are you taking me? She held up her cell phone with one hand and stuck the other on her waist, coldly saying, What for? Didn't you say you were a college student? Of course I'm going to give you an unforgettable graduation ceremony. Let those bitches like you learn a lesson. Be careful about seducing other people's men in the future. Along the way, quite a few girls in the women's dormitory were looking sideways. The gaze she watched grew cold. Her lips sneered and spoke, Is this a school or a place of entertainment for you? One student after another is wearing skirts shorter than my underwear. How disgusting. What kind of trashy university is this? When I expose your scandalous story in front of the entire school leadership, let's see if they change the school rules. The struggle in the dormitory had taken all my strength. At this moment, listening to her harsh and mean words, I was unable to retort. The venue for the graduation ceremony was ready, and many students entered one after another. Selena directly led the security guards to drag me onto the lectern. The security guard let go straight away, and my whole body was thrown on the stage. She pointed at my wretched figure and snatched the microphone on the stage and angrily said, This is the good student that your school has produced. How dare you learn to rob a married man and do such shameless things? Where are the leaders of your school? Let them come out. Today must give me an explanation, said she. Reached out and pulled my hair. Scalp was pulled by her raw pain. My expression twisted up in pain. Instead, she had the security guard turn the broadcast camera on my face, and my tightly wrinkled features instantly appeared on the big screen behind me. Selena snapped into the microphone. See, this is the price for destroying someone's relationship. If I don't give you a good lesson today, you so-called college students really don't know what your status is. Do you really think that going to college makes you great? You don't even know how to be a human being. What kind of graduation ceremony is that? You don't deserve to graduate at all. The students seated at the bottom were filled with horror. The school leaders heard the news and also hurriedly came. Seeing the scene, his head was filled with cold sweat, anxiously trying to call out to Selena, but the other party didn't care about him at all. I crawled on the ground halfway to the floor, finally regaining some strength, and stood up shakily, looking coldly at Selena. Aren't you afraid of ruining your wedding if you do this? Who expected her to sneer at her words? The reputation of this school has been ruined by you. You still want to threaten me? After saying that, she turned her head and looked at the audience in the live broadcast room, who were all talking about it. Viewers, see? College students nowadays are really something. I don't know what kind of classes they take in school. That's how she threatened to cancel my wedding. Shouldn't I teach her a lesson? As the words fell out of her mouth, she gave me a look, and I was pinned to the ground by the security guards who swooped in. Another man took a bottle of liquid out of his bag and slowly poured it down on my bachelor's gown. The nuisance sound of fabric being corroded rang out, and my hair stood on end at the sound of it. Not caring about my privacy at the moment, I hurriedly opened my mouth towards her and begged for mercy. Wait. I admit that I seduced your husband, okay? You let them go. Don't fall down. Selena's lips curled into a sneer, a look of triumph. That's what scares you. This little bit of acid, I'm just giving you a little lesson? You can't even stand this? Still dare to come out to seduce men? I am making you remember this lesson for the rest of your life. I guess you're also a child without a mother's education. I'll give you a good lesson today. My show of weakness didn't get her to stop. Instead, the security guard dumped the sulfuric acid faster and faster. Hearing her insult my mom, my fists instantly clenched and I gritted my teeth. Aren't you afraid I'll call the police? All the ones at the scene are my witnesses. After saying that, she gazed around the circle. Not a single person dared to step forward at this time. Selena laughed out harshly and stepped forward to slap me hard on the face. The corner of the wedding dress touched the liquid on the ground and instantly blackened. Who the hell are you? Who are you to threaten me? I'm the one who's marrying into the Johnson family. She snapped her eyes up to angrily look at the security guard who was pouring acid to the side, whose hands were shaking. Haven't you eaten? Get out of here. Selena snatched the bottle from his hand, pouring it all over me directly. The liquid inside ran out, and she shook it off hard with a vicious look on her face. The security guard who was controlling me was afraid that he would be hurt and hurriedly let go. The sharp pain of my skin being burned made me unable to control myself as I rolled and wailed on the countertop. The more I screamed, the more frantic Selena became. With one hand, she lifted the hem of the wedding dress and ran towards me, reaching down and pulling my hair, grabbing it in her hands and dragging me to the front of the stage with both hands, facing the crowd. A piece of my scalp was torn open by her, and tears instantly welled up in the corners of my eyes from the pain. The festering skin and what was left of the fabric clung together. The slightest movement hurt my grimace. With scarlet eyes, Selena screamed, "Will you dare to be a mistress again? Say something. You bitch. I'll show you my power today. Message my husband one more time and I'll tear your face apart." The security guards called by the school leaders arrived at the scene at that moment and wrestled with the people Selena brought with her. The bijou works placed behind the curtain for exhibition were broken and destroyed by them. I was in so much pain that I was about to fall into a coma. But Selena pulled me up by my scalp, and the camera of the cell phone live broadcast focused on the big and small wounds on my body. Bloody images appeared in the live broadcast, and the audience called out. The number of likes is getting higher and higher. Selena rose 1,000,000 fans a minute. Just then, the phone suddenly rang in my cell phone. She directly pulled out my phone and looked at it, smashing it hard on my face. Nosebleeds poured out, and I ached until my senses went numb. Selena hissed uncontrollably at the top of her voice, "How dare you contact him, you bitch? I'm going to rip your face off. Let's see what you can do to seduce someone." The fact that I never saved my number and that my dad called without a name was the last straw that crushed her sanity. The phone rang in front of me until it hung up automatically. I no longer had the strength to answer it. I was being ridden by Selena. She couldn't care less about the live broadcast. Her hands deadlocked my head and pressed my face down hard against the acid left on the floor. All the strength I had left was used here, my face flushed red holding in the lack of oxygen in my chest. We were frozen for a long time, and she gradually ran out of strength. Annoyed, she aimed her hands at my head and began to attack. The diamond ring on her finger cut hard across my face, leaving a trail of blood. I had completely lost all semblance of strength to struggle, and my consciousness fell into a blur. The second before she was relieved to press my face into the sulfuric acid, noisy voices suddenly came from outside. "Da Karina! Da Karina! Daddy's coming!" Papa's shouts were drowned out in the sea of people. His firm figure walked through the layers of people towards me, with a group of policemen behind him. Seeing the familiar face, my tears went completely out of control. The pain also gradually awakened, and my whole body trembled beyond recognition. The police rushed onto the stage and took Selena and the security guards she brought with her away. Selena's hand movements were stunned in midair by the sudden change. She didn't hear the words coming out of my dad's mouth, and when she saw her groom arrive, she turned her head and threw herself into my dad's arms in aggravation. With a sniffle and a tear in her eye, she said I bullied her and hurt her in public. She did everything to protect herself. As a result, before she could finish her sentence, her whole body was pushed down by my dad with force. With her arm braced on the countertop, touching the acid that had just lingered, her features crumpled in pain. Tears quickly spilled from the corners of Selena's eyes as she turned her head toward my dad and cursed angrily. "Are you out of your mind? You're going to flip out on me today for this bitch. Today is the day we'll get married, don't you know? Are you mesmerized by her?" My dad was so furious that his face turned red and his chest rose and fell violently. Looking into Selena's eyes, he couldn't help but cry out. Just when he was about to say something, he saw her quickly pick up the cell phone that had fallen aside and was broadcasting live. Crying to the camera, "Viewers see clearly. This slut is capable of much awe. Now my husband has completely broken with me." A sentence just finished. The phone was snatched by my father, smashed into parts on the spot. The farce of this live broadcast finally came to an end. "Selena, do you realize what you're doing?" Selena's face flashed with panic as she was startled by his actions. Turning enraged, she broke down and shouted, "What am I doing? Don't think I don't know what you mean by picking this venue. Isn't it just to meet your little bitch? What am I? Count me as a clown for you two to flirt with. What do you take me for?" The moment the words fell, the quieted atmosphere of the scene instantly exploded. A few students from the next dormitory sitting in the front row have loudly commented, "No wonder I haven't seen Dakarina for 2 years, so she found a big brother and doesn't have to go to school. This way of marrying a rich man or don't learn from her. Look at Dakarina is almost killed by his wife." My father at the moment bent down, squatting in front of me, busy helping me to call the emergency number. Ignoring the crazy Selena. Instead, she relentlessly reached out and tugged at the sleeve of my dad's suit. Tears rolled down her makeup-drenched face. Her voice was tinged with an unwilling sob. "Do you hear me? You take me for an idiot for something even these students understand. Never letting me see anyone from your family in a year of being together. Your daughter only ever living in your mouth. She didn't show up for our wedding today either. You never wanted to be with me all the time in the first place. You're just playing with my feelings." She was practically hissing the last sentence at the top of her lungs. But my dad's eyes were full of my wounds and the only word on his face was heartache. Guilt surrounded and drowned him, and he didn't have the heart to explain a single word to Selena right now. Selena's questioning went unanswered, and her hard-won sanity gradually crumbled. The ambulance arrived at the school gates at that moment. Dad picked me up in public and was ready to leave when he was blocked by Selena's figure. She was so angry that her features were twisted in a grimace. "Brayden, are you out of your mind? This is our wedding day." "A wedding? Are you going to let me go alone? I can let you off the hook for cheating on your college student, but you have to come with me to the wedding today to get married." The moment the words fell, my dad raised his foot and kicked her hard to the ground. The rough action was recorded video by the students on the stage to be uploaded on the internet on the spot. My dad's patience finally reached its limit at this moment. The veins on his forehead bulged, and he lost control of himself and shouted angrily at Selena on the floor, "You've hurt my daughter like this, and you still want to marry into my family, get out. You hurt my daughter like this, and you still want to marry into my family, get out. I'm telling you, the only thing waiting for you is jail. My daughter came back from abroad for today's wedding, and this is how you treat her? You're not worthy at all. I was blind before. After that, we have no half relationship except hatred." After saying that, the noise of the scene suddenly fell into a dead silence. The school leader who had previously communicated with my dad about the wedding venue cautiously went up to ask, but received my dad's reply filled with anger. "Wedding? I'm not having one. Even if the sky falls, it's no match for one of my daughter's fingers. The venue decorations have all been removed. Your graduation ceremony can continue." With those words, he didn't look at Selena, who was frozen in place, anymore. Turning his head, he led me out of the auditorium. My dad flew through the campus with me, who was about to fall apart, in his arms, his face full of devastation and anxiety, only to be photographed by countless people and uploaded on the internet. The fact that we were father and daughter hadn't even been publicized yet. The public opinion on the internet completely festered to the point of getting out of control. Dad didn't have time to deal with it and followed the ambulance all the way into the hospital. He was relieved to see me being sent to the operating room, and then he had to explain to the guests why the wedding was canceled. Many relatives, friends, and collaborators swiped Selena's live broadcast. Because of the high number of likes, the system pushed a lot of people. The close friends of the family and the Chin people wanted to open their mouths to ask, and seeing that gloomy face of their dad, they all chose to. The whole guests were sent away one by one, and Dad was rarely cleared. He returned to the door of the operating room, only to see Selena in a wedding dress, appearing in a state of disarray. Dad saw her and swept his cold eyes over her crying red eyes. He took out his cell phone and called the hospital's security guards to come up. The whole person sobs uncontrollably, collapsing and shaking her head, but unable to say a word in defense. Dad hangs up the phone before speaking angrily, "Get out." The lights in the operating room behind them go out at that moment, and Dad quickly raises his eyes. Patience with Selena was completely running out. "Scram. I don't have time to talk to you more. You're waiting to go to jail." The security guards also rushed out from the elevator. Selena hurriedly rubbed herself on her knees in front of her dad and grabbed him by his pants in a death grip. The security guards all froze in place at the sight, their faces in embarrassment. Dad's chest of suppressed anger at this moment burst, face terrible. Stretching his leg, he directly kicked Selena over to the ground again. The security guards saw this and hurriedly rushed up in a swarm to pull her. Selena had a mental breakdown on the spot. Struggling with all her strength, the wedding dress tumbled recklessly on the floor, unable to see its original color. "Get out of here. Whoever touches me, I'll kill myself right here. You will all be murderers." I was wheeled out of the operating room and put into a general ward. Dad couldn't care less about Selena and went straight into the ward to check on me. I lay weakly in the hospital bed, my consciousness fuzzy. In a trance, I heard the doctor and Dad say that my life was saved, but the scars on my body might be with me for the rest of my life. Then Dad was silent for a long time. The doctor sighed heavily and turned to leave the hospital room, his face full of regret as he left. Selena seized the opportunity and opened her mouth to explain. "I just saw a lot of pictures of her stored on your phone. Her number notes in the contacts are also the only baby, and there are even transfer records. All of them are transfer records of larger amounts," I said, she so aggravated that she couldn't make a sound. I was woken up by her and didn't have the strength to speak. I could only pull a bitter smile from the corner of my lips. Those in her mouth were just Dad's fear that I would have no money to spend abroad and be cheated by the monetary temptations of boys. This is the living expenses he gave me. Dad had said that my future son-in-law would have to do a better job than him to marry me off. I didn't expect such a misunderstanding to happen. Dad's eyes almost spit fire as he stared at her angrily. With an arrow step, he rushed to her side to lift the person directly in place. The other hand simultaneously dialed the number for the police. Turning his head to stare at Selena dead-on, he said, "Who let you out? When did I ever agree for you to come out?" Selena's face was suffocating red under the lack of oxygen, and tears welling up in her eyes. Reaching out her acid-corroded and cut hand above her head, she swore in front of her dad. "I will take Dakarina to all the plastic surgeons in the country and won't leave a single scar on her. Will you give me a chance?" I really didn't know the truth. The moment the words left her mouth, there was a muffled thud in her ear. Selena was once again kicked to the ground, a layer of skin already rubbed off the wound on her arm. The heat of the summer day was revealing signs of infection. Dad, however, acted as if he couldn't see it, only yelling angrily for the security guards to take her into custody until the police arrived. After the security guards get Selena under control, he drops his heart and walks towards me. Seeing me wake up, his eyes instantly reddened as a big man who killed in the mall. Gently stroking my forehead. "It's Dad who came late. Sorry, Dakarina. From now on Dad will protect you well." I couldn't say anything. I could only look at him with teary eyes. I haven't seen him for 2 years. He has lost weight. Also older. Dad personally ran downstairs to buy me a lot of supplements, looking at the supplements piled up in the corners, but always felt that it was not enough. I regained some strength and opened my mouth with my voice. Enough, really enough. Dad, I'm just a flesh wound. People who love you always feel that what they give you is not enough. A pang of sourness rose in the bottom of my heart. The police rushed into the ward at this time. Looking at Dad's gloomy face, he opened his mouth somewhat helplessly. I'm sorry, at that time, Ms. Song said that it was a family dispute that could be resolved privately. We let her leave after making a statement. I didn't know that you. At these words, Dad's suppressed anger exploded on the spot. Settlement? Family? Not in this lifetime. As the words fell, Selena broke down and shouted, I'm your wife. We're just having a family dispute. You can't send me to jail. You can't do this. I won't admit it. It's your problem. You're the one who didn't make it clear to me in the first place. If you've already decided to marry me, why did you hide the news from me? If I knew she was your daughter in the first place and had just come back from abroad today, there's no way I'd say anything that I could have done such a thing. Her questioning made my dad's face as gloomy as ink, and the remaining trace of softness in his heart was completely annihilated. Seeing this, Selena hurriedly changed her tone and opened her mouth to plead. Hubby, I'm wrong. I really know I'm wrong. I'll go kneel down and apologize to Doc Harina, okay? She's a good kid. She came back for our wedding. She won't blame me. I'll go talk to her right now. As the words fell, the sound of footsteps in her ears drew closer. Dad immediately yanked on her arm, causing her to yelp out in pain. The next second, her entire body was thrown into the arms of the police. Selena was taken away by the police, along with my injury report. Seeing how she refuses to admit her guilt, it's likely to develop into a lawsuit later on. She'll have to be sentenced based on that. However, the students and leaders in the room at the time of the incident can all testify to me, and even Selena's own live broadcast room has a lot of fans recording the screen and posting it online. Losing her hand and accidentally injuring someone is out of the question. The hospital room fell back into silence. Dad sat by the hospital bed with a disheveled look on his face. For 3 days in a row, in the days when I couldn't move, he didn't move an inch to watch me and take care of me. For fear of his sadness, I kept telling him about my experience studying abroad. But no matter what I said, he always stared at the thick gauze on my body with a sad face. His eyes were red and bloodshot, and he was exhausted. There were even many moments when I wondered if I had made a wrong decision to go back to China. If I had stayed abroad, he would have been living happily with Selena by now. When he found a chance to introduce me, then I would have met with this stepmother again. Unfortunately, there are no ifs in life. It wasn't until the doctor finally relented and said I could move around freely and recover slowly that his whole body reluctantly relaxed. And that same day, Dad got me a senior nurse and walked out the door of the hospital room firmly on his own. For a whole week, I didn't see Dad once. But I knew he was working hard to prove my innocence and avenge me. The caregiver always avoided the topic of Dad, too, consciously or unconsciously. She just looked at me with a growing sympathy in her expression. A bad feeling rose in the bottom of my heart. My cell phone was taken away by my dad, so I had no way of knowing what was going on outside. A week later, I was finally able to walk normally. When the caregiver went to get food, I went downstairs to the garden alone. Originally, I wanted to borrow a patient's cell phone to check the news on the internet. But just as I stepped onto the gravel path, my forehead was hit hard. A skinny man on a bicycle flew past me, bringing me down to the ground. A nurse passing by in the distance saw this and rushed forward to take me back into the hospital room. The doctor was called to bandage me up. Throughout the process, my ears constantly echoed the words that stranger cursed out. Bitch, your whole family shall not die. If you don't drop the case, I'll let you die without a body. The nurse saw that I was not in the right state and reached out to shake her hand in front of my eyes. There was still no response. She rushed out to contact my family. That night, Dad appeared in front of me dragging his tired body. There was still a loving expression on his face. Dakarina, be good. Daddy will take you out of the hospital, okay? Things have been resolved. Trust Daddy. The words I didn't ask were swallowed back into my throat the moment I saw his greenish stubble. After completing the formalities, I returned to my long-lost home. It was still the same as when Mom died. Dad did not leave this time, but quietly sat on the edge of my bed, reaching out to tuck me in. I learned from him that the next day was the day of the trial. Everything was just as I had suspected. Selena refused to admit that she intentionally hurt me. The internet was lopsided. The few students on campus who heard the truth that day drowned their voices in curses as they tried to clarify the situation for me. Even their own accounts were reported and banned. My dad and I had become a thorn in the side of the entire internet. The passers-by who hurt me that day were the outraged netizens, and the cyber violence had materialized. It was a real threat to my life. The next morning my dad was ready to leave, and before he left, he told me again and again not to step out of the house. But this time I didn't listen to him. Instead, I took a taxi and followed him to the courtroom. At the beginning of the trial, I was late. The moment my dad's eyes touched mine, fear was written all over them. I comforted him with my eyes, signaling him not to be nervous. The evidence was overwhelming, and I was the one to restore the scene. Selena was convicted without a doubt. She intentionally injured someone and caused a serious negative impact on the internet. She was even suspected of leading to cyber violence. On the day of the wedding, she destroyed millions of dollars worth of property. The judge sentenced her to 5 times the compensation and 10 years in jail. The moment she heard the result, Selena's whole body fell to the side almost uncontrollably. I heard from my father that her family was not well off, but her character is independent and strong. But now it seems that she is just a good actress. Hearing the news that Selena was going to lose money, her relatives who encouraged her to do it instantly became strangers to her. One by one, they said they had never heard of her. They were afraid that they would be implicated as accomplices. I was not angry. I identified a few of the most powerful people that day to let them together to pay for the money. Amidst their cursing and swearing, the case trial was over. Dad posted the winning document on the internet along with our account book. It's just that public opinion on the internet has been spreading for too long for it to be resolved overnight. So he switched accounts and used the company's official account to post this news instead. The instant it was sent out, it gained hundreds of likes and retweets. They were all collaborators and friends that he had greeted. I looked at my dad's rapidly changing face, grateful and heartbroken. I was glad that he didn't end up being cheated by a bad woman. Heartbroken that there's no one to be by his side for me in the future. I heard that Selena was his secretary and had been with him during the company's several crises. I didn't know anything about it when I was abroad. Guilt creeps into my heart. The tip of my nose is vaguely sour. I watched as his fingers flipped and flew busily on the screen, and in the middle of the day, I carefully spoke. "Dad, why don't I go help you in your company when I'm healed?" The moment the words fell, the other side of my uninjured head received a violent blow from him. "The most important thing for you right now is to recuperate at ease. I've already booked an appointment for you with the orthopedic specialist. I'll send you directly there at that time. Don't come back if you don't recover well." The moment I held my dad's hand and stepped out of the courthouse door, a voice suddenly came from behind me, turning my head to meet the staff's anxiously panting face. "Mr. Zhao, Ms. Song is requesting to see your daughter." I didn't think I'd have the chance to sit calmly with Selena after the incident. After all, several times I wanted to rip her face off in my sleep. But looking at her at the moment, suddenly I couldn't be angry. We looked at each other for a long time before she spoke. "I'm sorry. It's me who misunderstood your identity. It's me who did wrong. I admit it." I looked closely at her face that wasn't a few years different from mine, and I couldn't tell what I felt in my heart. Maybe because I was like that, I took it for granted that I thought the world was like that. She was 5 years older than me and became the chairman's fiancé not long after she joined the company. What happened in between, I don't want to know. But I did have to thank her for my father's company during the 2 years I was abroad. After hearing her apologize, I nodded with a bland face and turned to go out. Not all apologies are met with an okay. The cause of the incident was that my identity wasn't publicized, but if it had been, I wouldn't have had the chance to see her face. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is for the best.